Hey, all you amazing Met fans. Welcome back to another episode of Optimistic Met Fan. I'm your host, Frank Arsberger, and you can follow me on YouTube and Spotify, and you can also follow me on TikTok as well as Instagram. So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the last homestand that the Mets just had, how sweet it is. 7-0 on the homestand. Very, very impressive. The Mets are on a roll and everybody's starting to click and come into form. Hopefully, Juan Soto will follow suit. But what a huge series for Francisco Lindor this past series against the Philadelphia Phillies and also against St. Louis. Everybody was just on fire, and it looked like they were a well-oiled machine. The pitching just keeps on rolling. Every starter just goes out there, just keeps on throwing up zeros, and it's just really, really good to see everybody kind of coming together as a unit. Very impressive. The Mets are 18-7, best record in baseball as of the games going on Thursday. The Mets had an off day Thursday. They are going to be starting up again in DC on Friday night, and we'll get into that. But let's talk about this homestand on this episode, because this homestand really was first test for the New York Mets, right? They were getting, not accused, but they were getting kind of picked on online about not having a tough schedule. And really, I was kind of 50-50 on that. I was like, well, it's not our fault. We had to play the Marlins 6 times. But, you know, other than that, we played really good against Houston. We had a series against the Toronto Blue Jays. So, most notably at home, and we swept them as well. So, we're sweeping some good teams. The Cardinals, even though they're rebuilding, they still have a really good team. And, the Phillies, they're our number one uh, block as far as winning a division title. I think it's between them and the Phillies. Atlanta, I don't know what's going on with Atlanta right now, but we'll get into that later on as we face them. But right now, we just swept the Phillies, so New York's feeling pretty good. We're on top of the world. We've been picking on the Phillies all day today as I record this, so that's pretty fun. Really can't stand the Phillies. I just have to get that out of the way. I mean, everything about Philadelphia just annoys me. The way that they claim that they're the city of brotherly love, but yet they boo constantly. They even boo their own players. It's just really, really awful. I did see WrestleMania at Philly last year, so that was pretty good. Other than that, Philly stinks. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, my Philly hatred, let me talk about the Mets homestand. So I really wanted to talk about how not only did we sweep a couple of these teams, but just the way that we did. It was kind of, we really weren't stressing in any game. Usually a Mets will have that one game where you're like, oh, I don't know if they're going to win. Every game kind of seemed like it was in control for the most part. Lindor led off a bunch of games. Either got a hit, got a walk, had a leadoff home run. Actually, in two of the games, he had a leadoff home run in St. Louis series and in the Philly series. And really, the guy that was carrying the team before that was Pete Alonso. Now, not saying that Pete didn't have his hits. Pete has just consistently hit all year, but it's really good to see Lindor kind of get out of his April slumps that he's been in, especially since being on the Mets. This year, Lindor, his numbers are jumping off the charts. He has a 309 average, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, and an OPS of 869. Now, that's just unbelievable, considering the fact that he usually slumps in April. For Francisco Lindor to be doing this in April is just a great sign. It's kind of like he's carrying over what he did back in 2024. And that's a great sign for the New York Mets offense because we really need him to lead the charge. He's the captain or the unproclaimed captain so far. I think that he's going to be the captain eventually. But right now, Lindor is doing everything that he can to be a leader on this team. and he's showing it on the field with his play at the plate, in the field. In the field, you know what? He's had a couple of errors here and there, but they haven't really killed the team. I know they cost Senga one game, but I think that's going to be something that's kind of like the only blip in his season so far is the errors, which is kind of uncharacteristic for him. Also, I would say that uh, everything else is just on par with Francisco Lindor, so I can't really complain. I think he's trying to do too much sometimes in the field. Sometimes he yeah, tries to overcompensate, I think, for Mark Vientos. But other than that, can't really complain about Francisco Lindor. Other Mets to mention, in the pitching staff especially, Griffin Canning. How about him, huh? Having the best ERA on the team right now of any starting pitcher at 3.12, and he has a 3-1 record. Now, I didn't think he was going to be this good early on, but you know what? This pitching lab just keeps throwing pitchers out there, figuring it out, what they can do, what they can't do. And they just keep developing these guys and making them serviceable starters in the major league level. I mean, Griffin Canning last year was awful for the LA Angels. A little bit because they don't know how to develop guys, and they don't know, they had a really bad team, and I think he was left out there way too long in starts, and it just showed. This year with the Mets, Griffin Canning has gone 6 innings twice, uh, and the other starts he's gone into the 6th inning, gone 5 innings at least, and he's striking guys out. He's not leaving the team without a chance to win. That's the most important thing with him is, well, what all the starting pitchers really has been, they've been given the Mets a chance to win, and that's extremely important because this offense is eventually going to roll. Right now, not everybody's hitting, but if we can just have the starters go 5, 6 innings, keep us in the game, and I think everything will be good. We'll keep rolling like we are. We haven't even been hitting on all cylinders yet, and we have 18 wins, like I said, 18-7. So again, Griffin Canning is just very impressive. I'm very happy with him. I hope he sticks with the rotation once Manaea comes back and once Frankie Montas comes back. We'll see what happens when we cross that bridge. But right now, Griffin Canning is one of my favorite pitchers to watch on this team. He just attacks the zone. I love his attitude on the mound. His last start, speaking of his attitude on the mound, he kind of stared down uh, Castellanos. I don't know if anybody noticed that on Tuesday night when he struck him out to end the inning. That was awesome. So he does show his emotions. He does, he's a bulldog on the mound. I like that. He's showing some emotion. That's good. Clay Holmes is so far so good with the transition, I think, right? I can't really say anything bad about Clay Holmes. 3.16 ERA. He's 2-1, leading the Mets staff in strikeouts with 34. So that's really good. And, he's just going to develop more and more into a reliable starter. And then we see how long he lasts. I think at the end of the day, if we can get him to go into at least August, you can't ask for more than that. If he goes longer into the season, then hey, it's great. But it's his first year as a starter. So you also have to take into consideration the innings and, how long he can last and not burn himself out. I wouldn't think he would go more than 150 this year. So, keep an eye out on the innings. But other than the innings, I think that, Clay Holmes is going to be just fine. And then, you know, the win-win situation that the Mets have is that even if the playoffs do come around and we go to a shortened rotation, he doesn't necessarily need to be one of the guys to start. He can do what David Peterson did last year and come out of the bullpen. And then, we have just an even better bullpen at that point. With Clay Holmes joining the fold in the playoffs, God willing, if we get that far, I think we're going to get that far, obviously. But, uh, having Clay Holmes be a starter and then be able to go to the bullpen and have that experience is going to be a plus for this Mets team. So, something to look forward to. Senga is going to be pitching his next start on Friday in DC. I just wanted to mention him real quick. It looks like he's back to form as the ace of the Mets staff. I think that proved that in the last two starts. Has an ERA. I mean, this ERA is incredible. I know it's not going to last like this, but 0.79 ERA in the starts that he's made this year, and he's 3-1. So he's also been stepping it up and doing what he needs to do to give the Mets a chance to win. And when he's on the mound, you just think that the Mets are going to win. So, that's really what the Mets need is Senga to be that guy to be like, okay, this is going to be a win today, no matter who we're playing against. And he's done that so far. So that's really encouraging in April to see him make that step. So more on the homestand. So right now it looks like where the homestand ended, and this was the last hurrah. It looks like we just got the news that Brett Beatty is going to be sent back down, and that's because Mr. Jeff McNeil is going to make his season debut on Friday. So that's really good to get him back. A little sad for Beatty though. I know a lot of Met fans have mixed emotions about Brett Beatty. Me personally, I was rooting for him, but at this point, I mean, the writing's on the wall. Eventually, he was going to be not cut from this team, but he was either going to be traded or sent back down to AAA. Right now, he's going to be sent back down to AAA. Honestly, I'm a little 50-50 on this move. I thought the Mets would have sent down Azacar, the backup outfielder, and kind of had Acuna play outfield plus some second base and kind of move guys around. Mendoza had a lot of flexibility with the roster that was on the roster right with the players that he had on the roster right now. And when I got the news that Brett Beatty got sent down to AAA, I was like, oh, that's not really a good thing. Not for him, but for the team. I thought that Brett Beatty being a platoon guy, coming off the bench, playing a little bit of third, having that flexibility to move against those DH if you wanted to do that. Now you can't do that because I don't think Acuna's going to be playing third base. He's probably going to be the emergency third baseman. But I thought you had more flexibility sending Azacar down and leaving up 80. Obviously, with Alvarez, Francisco Alvarez coming back, you have Hayden Sanger getting sent down. That was kind of an obvious. That's not really that big of a deal. I thought that Sanger was good, but at the end of the day, the catchers on this team are going to be Torrens and it's going to be Alvarez. Now, with that being said, I do think that Sengo is somebody that we could count on in case of another injury. So, we'll see. I still think that Torrens should be the starter when Alvarez comes back on Friday. I wouldn't throw him and McNeil right back into the starting lineup. He probably will throw McNeil back into the lineup, Mendoza. We'll see. I wouldn't because he's facing a lefty. Jake Irving on the Nationals is going to be starting Friday. I would rather go with Acuna Friday and just ease McNeil back in. But we'll see. I mean, we have a lot of depth on this team, so it's not really going to be an issue. Guys will get their bats. But, again, just really disappointed with the way that, Beatty ended probably his Met tenure on the Major League roster. I can't really see him coming back up at this point. More because I feel like there's other guys that are going to be getting their chance. Guys like Ryan and Mauricio will eventually get a shot once he gets his foot under him in the minor leagues. So just starting him off as a DH, kind of get his feet under him after being out of baseball for over a year. But once he gets going, he was eventually going to be a guy that we're going to bring up anyway. So again, the clock on Beatty was ticking regardless of who was going to get healthy. So you have Mauricio, and then you would have even had guys like Drew Gilbert taking up a spot on the roster, maybe Jet Williams. So there's a lot of different pieces that the Mets have that we're going to be seeing a lot of changes maybe later in the year if one of these guys pops and they, force the Mets to make a move. I could also see some of these guys going in a trade for somebody, notably maybe a Mauricio or a Jet Williams. Alcantara is not going to come cheap from the Miami Marlins, especially being under 3 years of control still. So if the Mets do want to make a move like that in July, we may see a couple of these guys that I keep mentioning every once in a while, guys that you keep hearing online, these top Met prospects that really have a lot of upside. We may not see all of them be Mets. I always kind of say like, oh, I'd love to see a new guy come up. The fan base gets excited. But the realism is if you're going to be a World Series team and you're going to have World Series aspirations, you're not going to win the World Series with a bunch of guys from AAA. I mean, you can if they all develop really well. I know Atlanta had that one season where they brought everybody up and everybody was great, but you don't always have that. So at the end of the day, you kind of have to take these prospects and hope that out of the 6 or 7 that I've mentioned on this show, half of them make it to the major league team. And that's a really good percentage. If 50 of your prospects are going to make your team, and the Mets have had guys who've come up that are even stars on the team now that have come from the farm system. Guys like Pete Alonso, guys like Brandon Nemo, uh, Jeff McNeil, Alvarez, Mark Vientos, Luis Angel Acuna. So most of the major league team now, other than the stars we signed like Lindor and Soto, have been from the farm system. So that's really good to see. And then with these other guys coming up, who knows how good we'll be? But you only have so many roster spots. So I know me and a bunch of my friends were joking around about that, saying this is a really good spot for the Mets to be in because they they have a great team already, and then you have all these prospects. There's not enough room for everybody, but that's a good problem to have, I guess. So you know, let's just see how that goes, and then you know, again, uh, I don't think there's really a lot of negatives to talk about this team right now. I think right now you just come off a good homestand, 7-0, feeling really good. We just whooped the Phillies in a 3-game series, and now we got to just keep it rolling. And with that said, we're going to go on the road against a young, developing team in the Nationals that I think could give us a little bit of a problem. But again, if we keep doing what we're doing, I don't think we're going to lose to a lot of teams. I think, eventually, sometimes we'll lose 2 out of 3, like we did against Minnesota. But I really see this team winning 95 plus games, maybe 100 games like they did a few years ago. And the only reason why I say that is because the offense hasn't even done what they could do. We still have guys like Vientos and Soto who haven't even woken up yet. So imagine once they start hitting, once Nemo starts hitting. Right now being carried by only Alonso and Lindor. So, imagine if going on this quick road trip, and then coming back home, what this Met team could actually do. There are a couple of guys in Washington that we should look out for, though. Guys that I wanted to mention, like James Wood, has 8 home runs already and 18 RBIs. And, he's probably their best player. He's one guy to look out for. An outfielder that came up last season. Really impressive. And then another young player, Dylan Cruz, who has 6 stolen bases already. So, a couple of nice young pieces that they have. They should be a good test for the New York Mets. But again, the Mets, with Senga starting on Friday, should ease into this series really nicely. I think they should win their 8th in a row very easily. Senga on the mound, take advantage of these young hitters with that ghost fork. And then, we'll take it from there. I think that Soto is eventually going to wake up. He did miss a home run during that Philly series that just went foul. And on TV, it kind of looked like it hit the foul pole and went to the right. But it was a little bit foul. But you can see Soto, his bat waking up a little bit. And if he does wake up, this team is going to be scoring runs and runs and runs and runs. They're going to be scoring so many runs, we're not even going to be able to keep count. So, very, very excited about this team. Again, we have some guys coming back from the IL. So, I want to welcome back Jeff McNeil and Alvarez, like I said before. and hopefully we keep it rolling. I hope that bringing up these guys don't kill the mojo and kill the enthusiasm that this team has had. It's good to see other guys step up and play well. But then once you bring guys back in, you're like, oh, I hope that the momentum doesn't get killed by this. I don't think that it will. I think that they're going to ease those two guys back into the starting lineup. And then, I think this team is a well-oiled, well-drilled team that, kind of roots for each other to do well. So I don't think there'll be any guys really fighting for playing time. I think everybody will get in there. I think Mendoza will figure it out. As far as that, I did want to bring up another series that's coming up soon against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's going to be after this quick road trip. That's going to be the test for the New York Mets, I think. That team is dangerous. So again, if we just get through this quick road trip in DC and come back, then the real test is going to begin going into May when we face the Arizona Diamondbacks. But again, until then, we can just hope the guys keep hitting, keep doing what they're doing. I did want to bring up Pete Alonso's MVP watch. I say that kiddingly because I know that other guys will probably win the MVP. I don't think that Pete will win an MVP. He's definitely the MVP of the Mets right now. So I did want to bring up some of his stats before we go. He has 341 average, 6 home runs, 26 RBIs, and an OPS of 1121. So pretty impressive offensive stuff. And he's been doing it with the glove. I don't know if you guys have seen the improvement with the glove. I've certainly noticed him making some nice plays at first base. Especially the throws have been really nice to see him become a better defensive player. It's really nice to stick it to everybody that had doubts about Pete Alonso. So very nice. Hopefully, Polar Bear keeps it up. Other than that, I think that's it for today's show. Again, with the homestand being so easily won, other than going through a couple of plays here and there, I really didn't really see what I could talk about. But again, like I said, Lindor just coming up big in a couple of those games with a lot of good leadoff hits, the home runs, and then the Mets just kind of rolled from there. That's really the only thing I can really say about the homestand. It was just a lot of Francisco Lindor showing what he can do in the leadoff spot and showing really what the Mets can do as a team. That was what I saw this weekend, this week with the Mets homestand was just pure belief and dominance every single game by the staff, by the pitching staff, the bullpen doing what they've been doing, and just the offense starting to come out of it a little bit. And that's really nice to see that the offense came out of it this week. Hopefully they keep it up. But again, until then, next episode, hopefully we'll be talking about a 10 or 13 game win streak. But until then, like always, stay amazing and have a great week, guys.